around freely in Pakistan. He also gets the patronage of the politicians there, like you just saw, and that of the military and the ISI. Masood Azhar, founder of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, another man who roams freely around in Pakistan. He was behind the Uri and Pulwama attacks here in Jammu and Kashmir. Syed Salahuddin, founder of the Hizbul Mujahideen, he planned the Pathankot attack. He is wanted by India as well. India on multiple occasions has petitioned Pakistan, has warned Pakistan that they must give out these terrorists, hand them over to India so that they can face the law here. But Pakistan does not believe that these men are terrorists at all. Zakir Rahman Lakhvi, commander of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, planned and executed the 26/11 attacks, is also on this list. Lashkar's top commander Sajid Mir, involved in the 26/11 Mumbai attacks, is also one of the names that India wants and will fight Pakistan for it. Faradullah Gori, Pakistani-based terrorist, linked to several attacks here in India, including the 2002 Akshardham temple attack. And the biggest name perhaps, the man who's not in Pakistan anymore but has deep links, Dawood Ibrahim, founded and runs the D gang. He was behind the 1993 Mumbai blast. He has been in Dubai, he's been in the Gulf for the last few decades. So Pakistan may say we don't have him, but that is where his links eventually go to. Abdul Rauf Asghar, Jaish-e-Mohammed commander, a key conspirator of the 2001 Pal attack as well. Wanted by India, sheltered, harbored by Pakistan for decades together. Will they finally admit that Pakistan is a safe haven for terrorism? Now, India has made it very clear that all of these terrorists will be brought to book, that the fight against terrorism will continue, and that Operation Sindoor is merely hit a pause at the moment. Last week, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had warned Pakistan to uproot its terror nurseries. Today, the Chief of Defence Staff, General Chauhan, sent out another strong message to Pakistan. Stop state-sponsored terror or you will have to pay the price. That's the clear message that India has sent out.
And similar kind of venom was spewed by General Asim Munir against India and Hindus. Speech just few days or weeks before what happened in Pahalgam. This state-sponsored terrorism from Pakistan had to stop, and Pakistan should not be able to hold hostage India to terror activities. And of course, it was also said that India is not going to live under the shadow of terror and neither nuclear blackmail.
Let's open this up. Lieutenant General KJ Dillon, former GOC Chinar Corps of the Indian Army, joins us on this broadcast. Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, former DG of Inspection and Safety, is with us. Rajiv Dogra, former diplomat, Consul General to Karachi in Pakistan, is with us as well. And Professor Andrew Latham, international relations expert, is with us on this broadcast as well. Let me open up by asking Lieutenant General Dillon. It is no surprise that we see this kind of line that is blurred between what Pakistan has always been calling state actors, non-state actors. There is no distinction anymore. And India has been saying that time and again. Pakistan is just proving us right, isn't it?
Good evening, ma'am, and good evening to the fellow panelists and your viewers. In Pakistan, there is nothing called state actors or non-state actors. They're all state assets. And the mere fact that military is sponsoring them, military is protecting them, military is giving them safe havens, and military, the deep state in Pakistan, rules everyone. The politicians will say what military approves. And when we hit the terror camps and terror headquarters in Bahawalpur and Muridki and other places after Pahalgam, you saw the funerals of terrorists where the senior military commanders were present, senior police officers were present, senior government officials were present. And when military is giving this type of a clear signal that we are with the terrorists, we are with our assets, and we will continue to remain with the terrorists and support them, then these small little politicians will take a clue out of it, and to gain their own ground, the political ground, the vote bank, they would try and connect themselves with the terrorists like Hafiz Saeed and Lakhvi and others, so that they get the votes and they get popular support of the public. So it is the military which drives everything. Rest everyone is a puppet in Pakistan, including the terrorists.
And it's not just the military, the civilian government as well, which probably is also working at the behest of the military there, the ISI. All of them seem to be working on a one-point agenda, which is to ensure that they continue spilling blood on the soil of India. Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, as far as India's operations are concerned, India has shown how we can carry out targeted precision strikes, that we hit terror epicenters, and if the Pakistani military stands in the way, then they'll get affected too. And yet we see this kind of support coming to the fore. What do you think explains that kind of compulsion?
Good evening to everybody. I'll pick up from where General Dhillon left. The funeral which General Dhillon mentioned was led by Hafiz Abdul Rauf. He is the Lashkar-e-Taiba person, and the coffins of the terrorists were draped in national flag. It was a kind of a national mourning and attended by the army. Never ever I have seen anywhere in the world globally that the terrorist burials is attended. So it highlights what General Dhillon was saying, that they are intertwined. There is absolutely no difference between this part of the terrorist body and the people in uniform. Now, specifically coming to your point, the Indian Air Force and the armed forces struck the targets on the early morning of 7th, and they were only the terrorist targets, the designated ones, with precision weapons. You could see the pictures of the weapons going through the domes of those buildings and not doing any collateral damage. And I've been telling it at every forum that we are a civilization. We are a very responsible democracy, and we do not want any civilians or people who are not involved in any conflict. So my understanding was that on the 7th, when we did the strikes, the message across was that you did a terrorist activity and we have taken out Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba or Hizbul Mujahideen targets. And if you want, we can leave it at that. But obviously, they cannot leave it at that. So what we saw happen on 8th and 9th was something they had to play to the gallery. So they started attacking us with drones, missiles, and all those things. And we have no terrorist things here. So they started attacking our defense installations. They started hitting targets across POJK, and they started hitting places in our Kashmir and other areas. So this is where the final retaliation came on the wee hours between 9th and 10th, which in the history I've been covering will be taught as an air campaign book in the military history, wherein 11 airfields were neutralized in a span of 23 minutes. And this brought them to the knees to ask for ceasefire. And thereafter, we all know where we have reached. So that's my take on the whole issue.
Rajiv Nobra, as far as India's fight is concerned, we have our delegations, our ambassadors against terror, so to say, that are around the world at the moment as we speak, taking that message of why we are the victims, Pakistan has been the aggressor, the escalation was the Pahalgam terror attack, and why Operation Sindoor is necessary. In fact, in the United States, currently we have both the Pakistan and Indian delegations at the same time. How do you think India can take this forward diplomatically as well? Because this is something that we've been doing for decades together. Dossiers after dossiers have been presented to the world and to Pakistan, and yet we see this kind of public praise and podium being given out to UN designated terrorists.
Well, exactly. Dossiers after dossiers. And what was the result? Nothing. Pakistani High Commissioner in Delhi went public to say this is nothing but a piece of fiction. And Pakistani Foreign Office would simply pass on the dossier to ISI so that the next time they don't make the same mistakes. They improve upon the terror act of the previous time. So anyway, but to come back to your main point that you started with, what surprises me is the brazenness of Pakistani civilians now. Because earlier there was a veil of denial and deception. Both the military and the civilian side would say, sorry, we don't know who's Dawood Ibrahim. We don't know who's Osama bin Laden. Have you seen him anywhere? Perhaps in America, perhaps in Dubai. He doesn't exist in Pakistan. So if he is in Dubai, let us know. So that was a kind of deception Pakistan was engaged in. But what has happened now, besides the funeral at which the Pakistani military officers and ISI officers were openly in the crowd, but even more than that is the civilian turn. Never before, as a speaker of an assembly in Punjab in this case, or a minister, openly sort of celebrated a terrorist. In fact, I'm told there were 2 terrorists, not just one. So, obviously, they are confident that whatever we do now, India can do nothing about it. And if they are celebrating terrorists, if they are mourning the death of some of their terrorists, then it also means they are prepared for the next time. So, the message that has to be conveyed repeatedly across, not just to the world, but to our own nation, that the fight is not over. That is why Operation Sindoor is on hold. It's not over, it's not finished. So I think we have to look forward with certain apprehension at the times that we are in and at the times that are coming. As far as the 2 delegations in America are concerned, Washington is a big enough place to accommodate both the delegations. It depends on who has a better hold on the mic. And I hope and I'm sure the Indian delegation would have the right message that they can convey across to the Washington. And
the choice of people that Pakistan's decided to send to the United States as well, Bilawal Bhutto. He's known to make off-the-cuff remarks. He's known to make remarks that have left him and his country with egg on his face, and that's another matter which we'll discuss. But Professor Latham, as far as the United States is concerned, is there a problem in the way the United States under President Trump has been approaching this entire issue? This kind of hyphenation that has been happening between India and Pakistan, India has long objected to it.
Yeah, I don't actually get the hyphenation thing for 2 reasons. First of all, this is not the Cold War. It's not even the post-Cold War era. It's this era of multipolarity. And in this context, the United States, but especially the Trump administration, wants to court India, wants India on Team USA to balance China, and is willing to throw Pakistan under the bus to a large extent. So that needs to be said. The other American interest here, of course, is to avoid an escalatory spiral which could culminate in a nuclear exchange. That's not in anybody's interests. You know, we went through this during the Cold War, but the Soviet Union and the United States didn't live side by side and have overlapping territorial claims like in Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, it just wasn't the case. And they went out of their way to avoid any 18-year-old Soviets shooting at any 18-year-old Americans. And so what we saw over the last month or so was very, I'd say, concerning / frightening to Washington, because Washington has no interest in seeing a nuclear war on the South Asian subcontinent. But there's no mistake. The United States is courting India in its grand strategy to balance against China in the Indo-Pacific. Pakistan is not a player when it comes to that.
But then, Professor Latham, what explains the kind of repeated comments that the president or within his administration make about getting Pakistan and India on the talking table as far as using trade or tariffs as leverage is concerned? That's something that India has outrightly rejected, that the issue was resolved between India and Pakistan bilaterally, as has been the stand of India since time immemorial, since this issue has been born, since independence for us, since 1947. And yet, we see the United States and the president there continue to harp on that one thing. Do you think that this could make or take ties between the two countries or turn where we wouldn't want ourselves to be?
On any given hour, in any given day, there's a different narrative about tariffs coming out of the Trump administration, and President Trump in particular. But the big picture, the 30,000-foot perspective is this. And we know this because the negotiations between India and the U.S. Are likely to yield a not quite tariff-free, but something approximating a free trade agreement. There is no initiative paralleling that with respect Washington and Pakistan. It's just not happening. So when I look at this, I see the Trump administration, which is all over the place sometimes. I mean, it's not intellectually coherent. But again, from a 30,000-foot perspective, looking at the big picture, what I see is this, that the U.S. really needs India to be on Team USA. Not all the time. You know, India's got its own interests and perspective, is going to pursue those interests, as states always do. But the U.S. really wants to court India because from this Trump administration's perspective, they want out of Europe, they want out of the Middle East, because they're most concerned about the Indo-Pacific, and they're most concerned about China. And if you're looking to balance and blunt China, to whom in that region do you look? Australia, yes. Thailand, maybe. India, absolutely. So I see the fundamental coincidence of overlapping interests between India and the U.S. And Pakistan just doesn't figure into this. Although it does on the margins, because nobody wants a nuclear war.
Sure, but you know, as far as the Indian perspective is concerned, we really do hope that the United States does walk the talk on who exactly they want to court and for what reason, and I'll come to that. But I'll request you gentlemen to stay on with me because we have some more information that's now trickling in, and this again proves the kind of extremism that is being fueled right from the top of the military establishment in Pakistan. The Pakistani Army Chief, now Field Marshal Asim Munir, his radical links have been spoken of by India. A link was drawn between the kind of comments he made on Kashmir right before the Pahalgam attack and the attack. It was seen as a cue by these terrorists to infiltrate into India and unleash and spill blood there. Now there's fresh proof that stares at that particular proximity of the Field Marshal Asim Munir and radical clerics in Pakistan. Pakistan's army is allegedly using Maulvis or clerics to spin this kind of narrative. Pakistan, remember, was left with complete embarrassment. Their air defenses were shot. India struck deep inside Pakistani territory. Several of their air bases were also hit. All of which was because their air defenses, their military preparedness was caught completely unawares. Now we're seeing some sort of justification coming to the fore from that, and it's not from the military. It's from the radical Islamists, the clerics in Pakistan that are heard in multiple forums talking about how it was the army that was only following orders from the Quran. They were trying to tire out the enemy, which is why there was inaction. I mean, this kind of defense coming in for the Pakistani army is just absurd, to say the very least. But what we're learning from our sources within the intelligence agencies here in India is that this is nothing but a desperate move to use religion once again, but this time it is to silence public anger, because the Pakistani army is left with complete egg on its face. And Lieutenant General Dhillon, as far as this particular narrative is concerned that's being spun there in Pakistan, you have clerics coming out, you have the Pakistani Army Chief, the Field Marshal, their ISPR DG coming out and make all sorts of absurd claims now to say that we didn't act because that's what the Quran told us to do. I mean, what is the justification for this? This is just theatre of the absurd.
Ma'am, if you remember, the first justification came from the Defence Minister, Foreign Minister in the Parliament, when he said we did not intercept the Indian missiles or Indian projectiles because we didn't want to give out our own positions. And we allowed the Indian missiles to come and hit the terrorist target. The next justification was we have brought down so many of Indian aircrafts. When people said, where is the proof? Then he said it's all over the social media. And now in Pakistan, because of the internal turmoil of economy, politics, diplomacy and military, the public is up against the army because they've seen the air bases burning and up in flames, and they're questioning the army now. And in Pakistan, there are only two things which binds them together. One is Kashmir, second is the religion. So now they're playing the religion card to say that we fought this war as per the rules of the Islam. Now that is where the people will not question them anymore, because now they played the final trump card. But today's warfare is not played or is not carried out as per the old norms. Today's warfare is different. Like in Mahabharata, the war used to stop at night. Now today the maximum war fighting happens at night. So we are living in a new world, and to give this type of an example is just to cover up their losses, to cover up their bad planning, to cover up their unreliable weapon systems, especially Chinese weapon systems and Turkish weapon systems, which were down within the first 72 hours. And as Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor says, 23 minutes of air dominance over a nuclear power state never happened in the world earlier. This is the first time a nuclear power country was decimated in air defense and air force within 23 minutes of air battle.
And that's because India has made it clear that we're not going to bow down to nuclear blackmail. All kind of fear-mongering or all kind of threats that came in from Pakistan are merely hollow, and India is seeing through that. But before I get in our other guests, let's listen into what this cleric has actually said in defense of why the Pakistani army didn't act.
अगर वाघा बॉर्डर से आए, अगर जनाबे वाला शकरगढ़ से आए, अगर सियालकोट से आए, अगर पठानकोट से गुजर के बहावलपुर और बहावलनगर और फोर्ट अब्बास उस तरफ गए, अगर पीछे से कराची की तरफ आए, तो ये ड्रोन कैसे आ गए? तो इन्होंने अंदर तक कैसे आने दिए? एक फैसल मस्जिद तक पहुंच गया। ये क्या है? अब कुरान से पूछते हैं, आयत नंबर 16, जब कोई ये जंगी पॉलिसियां होती हैं, जंगी मंसूबाबंदी होती है, कोई ये ना कहे कि तलवार ले और फौरन भिड़ जाएं और फौरन लड़ जाएं। अल्लाह कहता है कि तुम्हारे दो लम्हों की खामोशी या इंतजार, ये भी जंगी होता है। फौरन मुजाहिद से ये मुतालबा ना करो कि अभी लड़ो, अभी जवाब दे, अभी टुकड़े टुकड़े कर। मुजाहिद दूसरे को थकाता है, मुजाहिद दूसरे का जोर देखता है, मुजाहिद दूसरे की वो जो चाल है उसको भांप के फिर बदला लेता है, फिर जवाब देता है। उन्होंने ड्रोन भेजे इसीलिए कि हमें पता चले कि जनाब एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम कहां कहां नस्ब है, कहां कहां इनका एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम मौजूद है, हमें इतला हो, फिर जाकर हम इनके ऊपर अगला अटैक करें। उन्होंने ड्रोन भेजकर ये चेक करना चाहा। कमाल।
Air Marshal Kapoor, if you heard what the cleric had to say, I mean, is it funny or is there any other explanation for them to come out with such a defense?
Yeah, I would first begin with what Professor Latham just mentioned. My take is a little different. There is a person called Muhammad Al-Jawalmi. There was a $10 million bounty on his head by the United States. He was a terrorist. In 6 months flat, when Assad was thrown out of Syria, he becomes head of the state, and President Donald Trump gives him and accords him a welcome in Jeddah as head of the state of Syria. Same person who had a bounty on his head, Rauf, who led the funeral, has a bounty on his head. But these are the double standards which are exhibited across. There is something to say and there is something to implement. Now coming to what Maulvi just said, it has been covered time and again on all the forums that this country has only survived on narratives. As far as their narrative, they have won 47 to 48 conflicts, they have won 1965 war, they have won 1971 war, they have won Kargil. There is no mention in their books or records of 93,000 prisoners which were taken. There is no mention in the records of Bangladesh, which was carved out of the country. There is no mention about any losses which have occurred till date. So, and even now, when Op Sindoor finished, they showed some videos and the narrative that was sent out. People were distributing sweets on Lahore, Rawalpindi and other roads, celebrating their victory over India. So, the speech by Maulvi is a step ahead on this line. That narrative has now got a stamp from the religious body, so as to say that the army said something and the seal of the religious head has been put on that. So the common man has no choice but to believe what has been. And this total narrative is false. It is for a common man to decipher there. But like has been told by General Dhillon, everything there is controlled. The narrative is controlled. The ISPR controls, and people who speak against the establishment are made to flee the country. So everything, the narrative which is shown, seen, printed, circulated, is regulated, and that should,
But
fall in
thankfully,
line.
due to social media now, that kind of propaganda
Yes.
can be
Yes.
countered,
So-
and India has
so-
been actively doing that ever since the Pahalgam attack, during Operation Sindoor as well. All sorts of fear-mongering that was being pushed, all sorts of fake narratives that were being pushed from the Pakistani side were rebutted in real time. But taking off about the United States and what you said, I want to get in Professor Latham as well. You said that for the United States, if it had to pick sides, it will pick India's side because it works in their favor as well. Why is it then we don't see the United States walking that particular talk? And for example, if we talk about the International Monetary Fund, which just recently gave a huge bailout to Pakistan, one that it was desperately in need of. The United States has veto power at the IMF. They could have easily denied them that bailout because clearly that money is being used for a lot more than what they claim it to be using for.
Yeah, I want to be clear. First of all, I don't disagree with anything that the previous speaker said. I think actually we're on the same page. Secondarily, when it comes to U.S. foreign policy, it's not always entirely coherent. The picture that I was trying to paint was this. During the Cold War, right, Pakistan was being courted by the United States as a means, because India was kind of in, not really, but kind of in the Soviet camp, even though it was sort of explicitly kind of multilateral. And then in the post-Cold War era, during the War on Terror, obviously the United States courted Pakistan. But now this is a different era. Those two eras are long past, long gone. And in this particular era, despite the dysfunctionality of the Trump regime and the incoherence sometimes of American foreign policy, the center of gravity, as it were, is that the U.S. wants and needs India on Team America to balance against China, and is probably, on any given day, going to sacrifice whatever relationship it has with Pakistan to advance the America-India relationship. Is it going to be coherent all the time? No, I'm not sure that any country's foreign policy is coherent all the time. But that's the way in which the sort of gravitational pull is drawing American foreign policy. And I really don't see how anybody could not see that. So, yeah, sometimes, you throw a few breadcrumbs in Islamabad's direction. Okay, that's fine. But at the end of the day, if Washington has to make a decision, it's going to pursue two interests. One of which is getting India on Team America. And the other one is, because this is in nobody's interest, preventing an escalatory spiral which results in a nuclear war on the subcontinent.
Sure.
Nobody in Delhi wants that, nobody in Islamabad wants that, and nobody in Washington wants that.
Absolutely. Nobody wants a full-fledged war. But if Rajiv Dogra, that's the only answer to getting Pakistan to heal, because clearly the international community is turning a blind eye when it suits them, wants to stand with India in words but not in action. Where does that leave India? Where do we go from here on?
Well, firstly, I must compliment you and your producers that they have chosen the panel which is dignified, which is professional in its views. And I also endorse the confidence expressed by Professor Latham in America's Team India or India's Team America, as I would like it to be. Because the reason why I'm saying in the worst fashion is that sometimes there are doubts whether America is really with India, because Pacific or anti-China in the ocean side is fine. But what if there is something in Himalayas? Will America stand shoulder by shoulder with India? The doubt persists there. The second is the Pakistan issue. You see, whether there's an escalation or there's a controlled kind of conflict remains to be seen. But the fact is, Pakistan is a country, as I wrote in one of my books, of size and regrets. It still has not come to terms with why it was created. And the reason for its anger about why and wherefore it is a big country that is its neighbor called India. So its daily angst is, why does India exist in the form that it does? Why can't it be reduced to my size? And the result is acts of terrorism, its desire to cut India through 1,000 cuts so that it can bleed in 1,000 ways. So we have to live with a problem called Pakistan next to us. And that problem is not going to go away. Whether it leads to escalation or not, India will have to suffer the consequences, or India will have to make sure that through acts like Operation Sindoor, Pakistan is brought to some kind of a control, which may be temporary, and it may sort of launch some other acts of terror all over again. But we have very little choice. We have to live with a very difficult neighbor.
Because that's their inherent characteristic, the fitrat, as you call it. That's not going to change. That's just something that India has to learn to work around. And with Operation Sindoor, India has shown that we are not going to bow down to nuclear blackmail and will act if they try and push terror into India, spill blood on Indian soil. Then that is a price, a heavy one at that Pakistan will have to pay. I have to leave it there. I thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us here on this edition of The Right Stand and sharing your perspective. Let's shift focus now to the other big story that we're tracking here, and that's the big debate over language that was triggered by actor Kamal Haasan. It was a Tamil versus Kannada fight that he triggered a few days ago during the promotions of his film. Today, he refused to apologize. That controversy reached the legal hurdle as well. It was in the Karnataka High Court today, which came down heavily on Kamal Haasan. The actor had sought the court's urgent intervention for the release of his film Thug Life. It's scheduled to release across the country in 2 days from now, on the 5th of this month. The High Court said that Kamal Haasan or anybody cannot hurt the sentiments of the masses, which is exactly what he has done. All he has to do is apologize. But the actor's counsel told the court that his statement was taken out of context. There was absolutely no apology that was required for his statement. When the court said that he was sticking to his ego, the actor showed, or his counsel showed, no regret. The actor's counsel said that an apology is required only if there's malice, and in this case, there wasn't any. The High Court bench said that the division of this country is on linguistic lines, or so it seems like, with comments like this. A public figure cannot make such a statement. What has happened because of it? Unrest, disharmony. This was the observation of the Karnataka High Court. People of Karnataka only asked for an apology. It was as simple as that. One statement of apology would have been enough for this anger to die down. It was a clear message that was sent out to Kamal Haasan. But instead, the actor decided not to release his upcoming film for now. There is going to be a dialogue that is held between the Film Federation of Karnataka, the state government, and Team Kamal Haasan or Team Thug Life in this particular case, of where this goes from here on. Because for now, the High Court has questioned the actor, asking if he was a historian or a linguist, if there was any basis of the comment that he had made, and if not, then why is he adamant on not apologizing? Is this ego that's dictating his stance? Was a question that the court had to put forth. Let's open this up. Spokesperson of Karnataka BJP, Prashant GS, is with us. Harish Mohammad Ibrahim, political analyst who supports the DMK and the India Bloc, also with us on this broadcast. Mr. Ibrahim, let me ask you, if the court says, why be egotistical? Just apologize, and hundreds of thousands of Kannadigas will be placated. What's the harm?
No, it's not court's prerogative to go ahead and check for someone's ego or not. Whether the court's judges should be going ahead and checking whether whatever the facts which is related to Mr. Kamal Haasan's speech is there or not, number one. And number two, Mr. Kamal Haasan, as he said, consequently for the third or fourth day on this particular issue, he has maintained that it was sent out of a brotherly love. And number three, if there is any evidences that the Kannada has been born out of Tamil or not, is not a debate here. He mentioned that it is
but
out
it is
of
a debate.
love,
It is a debate because that's what the court's asked him to. It's not me or anybody else asking him that. The court has asked Kamal Haasan that if he has facts to prove it, then put it out and end the debate. The debate is simmering because there is no basis of what he said. Then why not just apologize?
No. That is where the problem arises. The linguist and the archaeological facts, which make sure to prove that Tamil is a classical old language, which is the first classical language which is to be announced in India by 2004, which is running.
It doesn't take away the fact that you cannot say that Kannada is one of Tamil. Tamil might have been recognized as a first cultural language or second, it doesn't matter.
Mr. Prashant, just a second. Let him finish. Mr. Prashant, just let him finish, please. I'll come to you. I'll come to you for your rebuttal. Mr. Ibrahim, finish your point.
Yes. So the fact of the matter is whether Tamil is being born independently, Kannada is born independently is a debatable, which the linguist and the archaeological fact should prove it. But the court's matter of prerogative is to not test someone's ego. It has to make sure, the judges has to make sure whether it falls under the constitution or not, to make sure a people to right to access to their particular job. And Article 17 of Indian Constitution makes sure to give that liberty to freedom of practicing anyone's profession. And Mr. Kamal Haasan's movie is getting banned in
So nobody stopped him from indulging in the profession that he wanted to. The movie is not banned in Karnataka. Now he has decided to put a hold on its release because he doesn't want to apologize. The movie has not been banned in Karnataka, sir.
That is factually wrong. That is factually wrong,
it's
because
not.
it was a curtail. No, it was a curtail ban which has been given out by the Karnataka Film Production Council and the Distribution Council. Only they have went to the court in Karnataka, for which the Kamal Haasan's advocates have made sure to give a proof there.
Kamal Haasan went to court saying we want a smooth release of our film because there are threats and calls of a boycott being made. There is no boycott of the film. Kamal Haasan and his team decided to not release the film until a solution is found.
Of course, he's a guy who is a guy of words. Even when the same kind of issue is happening in Tamil Nadu due to some Muslim fringe elements, groups which made sure to boycott his film of Vishwarupam.
Now you're equating Kannadigas to Muslim fringe elements, is it? Are you equating Kannadigas to Muslim fringe elements?
Okay, GS Prashant, Mr. Ibrahim, you have made your point. Okay, Mr. Ibrahim, you made your point. GS Prashant, the allegation against Kannadigas, the Karnataka government, the film board there, is that you're blowing this issue out of proportion. Why insist on an apology? This is a film, it's a work of art. There are a lot of other people, including, excluding Kamal Haasan, who are depending on the release of this film and the money that this film makes. Why are you taking it out on them?
If Kamal Haasan is dependent on money generated from Karnataka, after insulting Kannada pride, I think, why are we even debating this? He should first apologize and say, look, sorry, I should not have said it, I've said it. Now, please, let me release the movie here and let him make money. Who's stopping him? Firstly, he makes this statement which is incorrect, factually incorrect. If at all he has got the proof, he should have submitted to the court stating that I have made a statement which is factually correct, proven by documents, and then point out that the producers are not letting him release the movie. Then court would obviously take a different call. Once you are not producing any document to prove your claim, you make a claim in thin air and then say that you made it out of love, and then for the sake of money, you want Kannada people to watch your movie. Why? No, not required. You make your money elsewhere. We are peaceful here. Let us continue to remain like this. And this sort of a action by Kamal Haasan, refusing to apologize even after the court gave him time. In the first half of the hearing, when court said, come back at 2:30, let us find out whether the actor is willing to give an apology, and the answer is no, I won't apologize. What sort of a behavior is that? You make a factually incorrect statement, not backed by any evidence, and then you don't want an apology, but you want the money. Which means for the sake of money, you can do anything. For the sake of votes, Congress and its allies can do anything. This is proven beyond any doubt now. And this is the mindset. And not even a single top Congress leader has admonished Kamal Haasan with a strong statement. They have only given polite statements such as, no, he doesn't know about this, he should have not made, etc. But they have not even insisted on an apology from him because their alliance will be at stake. And therefore, Congress in Karnataka, for the sake of the India Alliance and Rahul Gandhi, are willing to go to any extent, even though Kannada pride is at stake. Which is why the producer, the exhibitors, and theatre owners who are beaming with Kannada pride have taken a voluntary decision saying, look, we will not release it. It's okay. They have other movies to watch. Not Kamal Haasan is not the only film star on whose business Kannada industry is running. Therefore, there's no problem to anybody. And if Kamal Haasan chooses not to release his film, so be it. Who's anyway waiting to watch it?
But
I don't
Amit,
think,
but in all of this, and that's a question I want to ask both of you, if both sides remain adamant on whether this film releases or not, when it releases, what happens to it, if it releases 5 days after it's released everywhere else, perhaps the buzz is over, it won't make the kind of money, and if it doesn't make the kind of money, Kamal Haasan is not the only one who loses out. There are a lot of other people who worked on that film, a lot of other producers who've put their money on that film. What happens to them?
Exactly. Poonam, exactly. Which is why the producers should inform Kamal Haasan. If not order, they can request Kamal Haasan saying, look, our livelihood is at stake because of your infactual, incorrect statement. They should prevail upon Kamal Haasan to issue apology. What is stopping them? Which means even they are siding with Kamal Haasan saying, look, fine, we don't want money from Karnataka, and look at the posters they have stuck in Tamil Nadu, completely supporting the statement of the Kamal Haasan. So which means their, duplicity is open for the public to see. In Tamil Nadu, they justify those statements with posters all around Chennai and other parts, and here they go to the court saying, look, somebody is not letting my movie release. Why is the double standards? Let them be open. Let Kamal Haasan say he did it to insult Kannada, and law will take its own course.
But the stance that Kamal Haasan has taken is that this was meant out of brotherly love, and I didn't mean. The interpretation that's coming out of this statement is completely out of context, is what Kamal Haasan has been saying, and that's what he's written in that letter as well. But Harish Ibrahim, just a sec.
Just wait, just give me 10 seconds. We are not bothered about Kamal Haasan's intentions. All that we require is he has made a statement which is wrong. Let him apologize. Then let him explain what led him to make those statements.
Sure, but as far as Kamal Haasan is concerned, Mr. Ibrahim, that apology is not coming anytime soon.
It won't come because why?
But is it also because he's not just an actor anymore? He's a politician. No. He's going to be in the Rajya Sabha. He has a political audience that he has to pander to as well.
Poonam, whatever it may be, he is not factually wrong. The carbon dating proves Tamil is the oldest classical language in the world.
And no one's denied that.
One second,
no one's denied that.
If you are going to keep on interrupting along with another panelist, then how I am going to put forward?
But you said the same thing in your last answer as well, and nobody's denying that. That's not the point at all.
One second. If Kannada language is at stake, Mr. Spokesperson of BJP, where you went when your own BJP's Morcha president, Yuva Morcha president, Mr. Tejasvi Surya, have tweeted on June 2nd of 2019 stating that the Sanskrit is the mother language of everyone. Whether you are making sure that the Kannada born out of Sanskrit, where your Kannada pride went at that point of time. And Mr. Amit Shah is saying that the Sanskrit is the mother language. You have some civility or you get out. You have some civility.
Okay, I request both of you, please, let's not get personal and make these comments about anybody. Mr. Ibrahim, I request you as well. Mr. Prashant, can I please get in a word here? I request both of you to not speak over each other. I have given both of you enough time to make your point. I have very limited time left. As far as Kamal Haasan and his political future in Tamil Nadu is concerned, he is going to be a Rajya Sabha member of parliament soon, and that's exactly what we've been talking about.
Is not even taken for granted.
Go ahead.
What kind of debate is this?
I'm giving you your time to respond, sir. You got all your time earlier as well. Please go ahead. Didn't I just ask him to not interrupt you?
5 minutes without any interruption.
Mr. Ibrahim. No, I'm not. I'm interrupting because you're making the same point you made earlier, and that isn't the point that we're debating. But the question I've asked you, can you please make your point? Otherwise, I'll move on, please.
Again and again, it has to be said again and again. If the BJP man who was speaking about Kannada pride, where he went when the Amit Shah and Tejasvi Surya made a point that Sanskrit is the mother language of all the other regional languages in India. Where does his Kannada pride went at that point of time? Ask him that particular
Mr. Prashant, quick rebuttal. Quick rebuttal, Mr. Prashant.
Mr. Ibrahim, now don't bring in Sanskrit, Hindi and other things.
You answered that.
Okay, Mr. Ibrahim, I asked him not to interrupt you. Please accord him the same courtesy. Give him the same courtesy. Please, let's not do this. Nothing comes out of everyone speaking over each other.
Completely. And please, next time, come to the debate as a DMK spokesperson. Don't masquerade as a political analyst. Okay,
I will
this
come
is
as
again
a
duplicity
DMK
of you people.
spokesperson or
You
Okay,
don't
let's not
really
take
correct
personal pot shots at each other. This debate has digressed into taking personal pot shots, and that's not something that we appreciate here. I thank you both gentlemen for joining us here and sharing your perspective. I really hope that the debate hadn't ended on this note, but I have to leave it there. I thank you all. The debate over Kamal Haasan and what happens to Thug Life will continue, and we'll keep a track when the next hearing takes place in the Karnataka High Court. Until then, there is going to be no release of Thug Life, unlike the rest of the country. What happens to the money that Thug Life makes or does not make in Karnataka, if at all it is released, and when it's released, what happens to that dialogue there? That's something that we will keep a track of. But before I wrap up this edition of The Right Stand, I want to get you a sense of what the Modi government has looked like. It's been 1 year since Narendra Modi took oath for a historic third time as the Prime Minister. It marks 11 years of him being in power. This particular year has marked several strides and bold ambitions. One of them is also in the space sector. In the last 11 years, there's a lot that India can boast of. From Mars to the moon, now towards manned missions. India's space story is reaching for the stars. Under this particular government, ISRO has docked satellites in space, explored the lunar South Pole, and is gearing up to send an Indian into space very soon. It's been a year of missions, milestones, and momentum for India's space history. Take a look at the special report.
Three, two, one.
India made history by reaching Mars on its first attempt in 2014. Chandrayaan-1 helped discover water on the moon. Chandrayaan-2 gave us the highest resolution images of the moon. Chandrayaan-3 increased our understanding of the lunar South Pole.
When Indian Air Force officer Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla pilots the SpaceX 9 Falcon 9 spacecraft this June, it will only be the first time in 41 years that an Indian would travel to space. So far, cosmonaut Rakesh Sharma is the only Indian to travel to space, that too in the year 1984 aboard a Soyuz spacecraft. Marks the first private collaborative human space flight by the Indian Space Research Organization, and this comes at a very pivotal moment when the Indian Space Research Organization has moved from one milestone to another over the past decade. But what really sets apart this National Space Agency from all other space agencies in the world is that all these scientists are working on a very tight, limited budget and still excelling in their fields. Remember, Chandrayaan-1 was executed at just about rupees 360 crore, and then Chandrayaan-3 at about rupees 600 crore, and now the Gaganyaan will be accomplished at a budget of rupees 20,000 crore. So what's next?
The Indian space program started with a bullock cart and bicycle era. We used to transport rocket parts in bicycle and satellite in bullock cart. From that era, last 63 years, we have grown to greater heights. And right now, we are growing in exponential growth. Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji has given a clear vision and direction to us. And we are going to accomplish a lot of new mission. Right now, there are 55 satellites serving the common man of this country in multiple places. This has to be increased to 155 satellites in another few years. And then a lot of new programs like Human Spaceflight Program, Chandrayaan-4 Program, Venus Orbiter Mission, and so many things are lined up. And really it is exciting. And I want to tell only thing, Indians are second to none.
अब हम मानव सहित गगनयान लेकर के चलेंगे.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced from the Red Fort in the year 2018 that India will fly 3 of its astronauts to space for the first time ever with Gaganyaan, he knew he was setting an ambitious target for the Indian Space Research Organization. Well, over the last 7 years, ISRO has undertaken multiple tests and inched closer and closer to that goal of carrying out its first ever human space flight. Well, now the target is set for the year 2027.
The Gaganyaan program is meant for taking Indians using Indian launch vehicle to space and bring them back safely. That is the mission. And to accomplish this, lot of development has to take place. First of all, the launcher. We have to human rate the launcher. Human rating means we have to improve the margin, improve the redundancies, and ensure that it is a highly reliable vehicle. This activity of the Mark III vehicle is completely done. Where all the propulsion system testing is done, structural tests are done. I will say 98% it is completed. Second thing is the crew module, where the crew has to be accommodated and they have to be taken safe. That development, it is a pressurized compartment, and that development realization is highly complex, and we are in the final leg of realization. Third development is the environmental control and safety system. You know, when somebody has to go to space, you have to maintain the required pressure, required temperature, required relative humidity, and the carbon dioxide has to be kept under control, oxygen content has to be maintained.
Clearly, there's a lot more coming up. The ISRO scientists have been working tirelessly to make these missions successful. Remember last year in December when ISRO carried out the 100th launch from Sriharikota and then successfully carried it out and completed that mission. Clearly, we have a long way to go, and the next few years we'll see ISRO making Indians proud yet again.
Co-presented by... This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The Karnataka High Court observed that this entire circumstance has been created because of Kamal Haasan's statement, and for now the actor coming to the High Court seeking protection, and in fact the High Court has asked if it's fair. In fact, the High Court said nobody has the right to hurt sentiments of people, and the High Court even questioned Kamal Haasan and said, I quote here, on what basis are you speaking? Are you a historian or a linguist? Now Kamal Haasan has also written a letter to the Karnataka Film Chamber of Commerce asking for statement to be not misinterpreted. However, in this entire letter, Kamal Haasan has not apologized. Remember, the matter now comes up for hearing at around 2:30 in the afternoon. That's the time that the court has given for the counsel for Kamal Haasan to get back to the actor and see if the actor wants to apologize, because the court is very clear. The best way out for everyone here is for the actor to apologize and end this matter here. In fact, we have Purnima Murli joining us for more on this. Purnima, 2 hours that the Kamal Haasan Council has got. Has there been any sort of a brainstorming that's happening on the way ahead for the actor and his legal team now?
Well, discussions are still going on. Sources from Kamal's team say that they are still holding discussions, and that decision will be taken. But in terms of whether Kamal Haasan would consider his decision to not apologize, all eyes on that. But only by 2:30 there will be clarity, because currently discussions are on between Kamal Haasan and his legal team to see how best they can work this out. But in the meantime, there have been posters in parts of the state from his own party, the Makkal Needhi Mayam, saying that love needs no apology, truth will never bow, and reiterating what Kamal Haasan had earlier said, that he made that statement out of love and that does not need an apology. He will not apologize if he hasn't done anything wrong. So far, he said that he's faced similar situations wherein he was threatened and warned, but that will not stop him because he says that he will only apologize if he's made a mistake. In this context, he says it was only out of love that he made the statement and it's been blown out of proportion.
Well, it's been blown out of proportion is what Kamal Haasan claims. We'll have to see if there will be a rethink after the kind of stringent views that the Karnataka High Court has had in the initial part of the entire argument that took place. In fact, there is a piece of breaking news that's coming in right now on the very story. DK Shivakumar has spoken on the issue, and he's urged the Kannada groups to not escalate the matter. He's also said that this is a small matter and has also asked pro-Kannada activists to not escalate the matter. Speaking to media, DK Shivakumar said that there are hundreds and thousands of people who go from Karnataka to Hosur and travel from Hosur to Karnataka, and things shouldn't take a turn for the worse. And if Kamal Haasan has committed a mistake, he will apologize and the court will issue orders for necessary orders.
ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ತಿರುಗಿದ್ರೆ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಹೊಣೆ? 50,000 ಜನ ಹೊಸೂರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ವಾಸಕ್ಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾರ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ? ನಾಳೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಸಣ್ಣ ಸಣ್ಣ ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಆಯ್ತು, ಅವ್ರು ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಕ್ಷಮಾಪಣೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿಗೂ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. ಈಗ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಲಯಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದೆ.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. Kamal Haasan versus the Karnataka Film Chamber is now getting down and dirty. Mr. Kamal Haasan is refusing to apologize. He's digging his heels in, saying that he has nothing to apologize for. He reckons he has said nothing wrong in the comments where he said that Kannada was born out of the Tamil language. Now, it is one thing to say this as a mistake, or it is one thing to say this out of ignorance, but now he's doubling down on these comments. He's even refused to apologize for his comments, despite the High Court of Karnataka today explicitly asking him to. In fact, the High Court came down on him and chided him and said, why not just issue an apology? The question then is, why this refusal? Is there something political to what Mr. Kamal Haasan is trying to achieve? He says he said nothing wrong, and now there are posters that have come up in Tamil Nadu saying that he should not apologize, even though what he said was erroneous and many people across Karnataka